Hey everyone, this is Kimron Korean, and on the last episode of Dropping Bars, I had with me Miss Lornadale Charles, and one of the feedback I got or I've been getting from people sending me messages or even people commenting on her episode is people wanted more information about her show that's coming up, which is The Social Mind. And because we did not get to delve deep into the social mind on the show Dropping Bars, I invited Lornadale to come back with me to do a follow-up interview where we can speak some more about the social mind and what it is about. So this is I guess you can say a by interview. You know, like we have by election, a by interview of Dropping Bars where she gets to talk about the social mind. So Lornadale, thank you for agreeing to come back and for agreeing to come and tell us all about your new show, The Social Mind.
Hi, Kim. Thank you for having me, and thanks to your audience for really. I suppose they reached out to you, and they also reached out to me directly, wanting to know more about the social mind. So, thank you to your audience on your various platforms for taking in my interview or my episode with you in the manner in which they did. And I'm happy to come and expound upon the social mind, I guess, speaking about exactly what it is about with you and your audience. So thank you again for having me, Kimron.
So, Lornadale, let's get started. Tell us, what will the social mind be all about? What are the interesting points of perspective? What is the social mind?
Well, the social mind is a space which I created. Like I said, the website is already up and there's information on it to really analyze and discuss economical, environmental, social, and political issues that our societies are faced with. The format will be done weekly with interviews from experts dissecting various topics from the aforementioned themes. Right? The social mind is where one can come to explore complex and controversial topics that are sometimes very uncomfortable to have. But I believe it is very important that we have these conversations. However, I want us to do so in a respectful and tolerant manner. Simply because the social mind will be a space that would encourage critical and reflective thinking. It is a way for us to explore how we can better communicate our ideas and learn from each other's experiences and perspective. Simply because if we look closer at each other, we would recognize that we are similar than different. And the only thing or things that makes us different is our experiences and our circumstances, whether it be economical or educational background. These are the things that separate us a little. But if we delve deeper and we do some introspection, we will all see that we are one and the same, right? So that is what the social mind would be addressing. So breaking it down to the simplest form, like I mentioned on your show, I want to be able to connect to the persons who have not had the opportunity to sit in a classroom. I have been speaking to a number of persons on the street. Some didn't get to finish primary school, some didn't get to finish high school. And some of the conversations that we are having in modern Grenada or in modern history, they are sometimes lost. Of course, they have opinions about certain situations or ideas or topics. However, sometimes it's it's our own biases and experiences. So I want to have a space where I can break it down and so they could understand why this person is doing that particular thing, why they behave or interact in that particular way. Again, it's coming from a particular place and context, and I want us to sort of have respect for each other in that manner.
Okay, wonderful. So one thing you said is that we are more similar than we are different. And I love that, right? And you also said that what makes us different are our experiences and our circumstances. Can you break this down a little bit more? What do you mean by our experiences and our circumstances are what makes us different?
Sure. Our minds are socially constructed. What we do and how we do it what we think, how we act, and how we behave are all social construct. Now, a social construct is an idea that has been created and we all accept it in society. We never really question it. What is good, what is bad. Somehow we come to the general consensus that this is what that's supposed to be, right? And this is the thing that's how it's meant to be, right? It's also called a social construct. And so we all come in agreement based on our socialization and I guess our cultural experiences. Oftentimes we make decisions based on our own cultural experiences, and that dictates how we make our decision. Even if we are not aware of it, culture influences how we see the world, what decisions we make, how we approach problems, and how we solve them. So our social cognition is how we encode or decode, analyze, store, and use information about people and the relationships or friendships that we build that helps define us. So sometimes those circumstances in terms of our socialization, our cultural experiences, is what really shapes our being as social beings. Hence the reason why it's like your experience might be different than I would have had, right? And I should be able to, while I haven't experienced your experience, I should be able to understand from your perspective where you're coming from. You might say that you have a headache. I do not understand the pain that you're experiencing from that headache. But because I have had pain from maybe a headache as well, because we experience pain or taste or smell differently, right? But I should be able to understand where you're coming from. And I want to further dive in and suppose I want to explain culture.
Okay, go ahead.
So culture is that umbrella term that encompasses our social behavior, the institutions that run our societies, the churches, the schools, and norms that define the society, our knowledge, our beliefs, our customs, the way we dress, so how we speak, right? So put it simple, culture is a way of life that is passed down from one generation to the next. And as such includes our manners, how we if we respect each other, and I guess I mentioned our dress code, symbols, what the flag may mean to you as a Grenadian, obviously may not mean the same to another person. Religion, our rituals, how we bury our dead, those are all cultural symbols, right? So culture is what makes us do the things we do, how we act, how we behave. I think I want to still further break that down. There are basically two components of culture, or ideas and symbols on the one hand, and the artifacts or the material objects that we see in our society. The non-material culture, as I mentioned, are our values, our beliefs, the symbols, the language that define a particular society. The second is the material culture that includes all the society's physical objects, the technology we use, the clothes which you can physically see, the transportation of how we get to one place to a next, the utensils, how we eat our food. In some cultures, they don't use knife and fork, they use their hands, right? So culture, as if we are to understand an individual or particular societies as a whole, like I said, while we are different, we are similar because we sort of lack that knowledge of other person's experiences. We sometimes are very judgmental. We are very criticism. There's a lot of criticism coming from particular places in our minds because we think that's how things are supposed to be. However, if we understand based on people's experiences or based on their way of life, that these are the things, or probably that's why they're thinking is in that particular way. So the social mind, Kimron, is going to be aimed at addressing some of those issues, but however, I'm going to be examining them sociologically.
Okay, perfect. And Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like we just had an episode of The Social Mind based on what it's supposed to be about. However, but this is great information, and it's not just. I mean, it's not just great content, but it's educational content. Based on everything you just said, I think that like a young person looking at this can really learn something about it. And I know that's going to be a key component of The Social Mind, especially with you being an educator, something that you mentioned on the last episode of Dropping Bars. So before we wrap up, I want you to just share with us what are some of the topics or some of the social issues that you will be addressing on The Social Mind.
So my aim is to address social issues, like, for example, economical issues. There is that gap where we don't teach financial responsibility from an early age. I want to delve into that. Social disorganization, sex and sexuality. Up to this point, when you talk about sex, not in the gender, but sex as an intercourse, some adults have difficulty when their child or their children or kids, for that matter, or young adults, even married couples, use sex, or if they're talking about intimacy. That seems to be a very taboo conversation in our society. And I think it's hypocritical because we all engage in some form of sexual activity. One might push a religious perspective. Others might have a spiritual perspective in that line. Mm-hmm. And some may have no perspective at all, but somewhere along the line, we're engaged in it. Our public health issues, diabetes, hypertension, how we deal with that as, I guess, modern Grenadians, because if the last research that I did, based on some research I was doing, Black people on a whole seems to be high up the chain in terms of being diabetic or suffering from hypertension. How we deal with those issues and sort of address it, I guess, exercise, proper diet, discrimination. In the Grenadian culture, for example, we like to call people nicknames, short girl, tomboy. In another country, in another society, if you do that, you're setting yourself up for probably some time for a lawsuit, right? Social inequality, status, class, education and certification. We think because we went to university and we got that degree that we are better than the persons who have not attained such a level of education. Of course, I'm going to be talking about that. Conservation and the environment. Issues, of course, I will talk about culture and heritage and my personal standpoint from that, because for us, when we talk about culture or festivals, that is carnival. There's much more to that. Right. I mentioned religion and spirituality. There are some persons who don't go to church and they get criticized or condemned for that. In my mind, from a sociological perspective and from my training, there is a difference between religion and there's a difference between one's spirituality. Party politics. Like I mentioned, I wrote a piece about the political culture in Grenada. When I examine my life and I look on politically, as far as I can remember, as a child to an adult, I noticed that the political culture there's a shift. It seems to be more dogmatic. That's not what I knew when I was growing up. How did we get here? And I want to examine that. What's the cause of that? So these are the social issues that I want to be talking about. Recently, I was on Facebook and there was a post about a young man. I guess he probably would have shared some information and I guess it led to some form of embarrassment somewhere along the line. So I want to talk about digital citizenship, what it means to being a responsible person when you use social media. When somebody share information with you, intimate information, you don't just go posting it. So digital citizenship and being responsible online is one of the things, again, I want to talk about. Not because you're behind a screen and nobody knows who you are, you create a fake profile and you could just say or do as you please, right? Again, there are laws for that, and how a law is dealing with that or addressing certain things when they come out in a negative form is something that I want to talk about. And speaking of digital citizenship, Kimron, as I bring it up, I think you're the perfect person to be my first guest to talk about digital citizenship.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, she's talking about digital. She's talking about my field. Like that's my thing.
Right.
Like, yeah. I mean, I'll be happy to. Absolutely.
All right. So I did have an episode already. I'll make that switch and you're going to be my first guest talking about digital citizenship. and the responsibility or respect. I'm going to frame it I'm going to frame it so that you know what you're coming and talk about. But it's going to be digital citizenship and how I guess how we respect or use social media, how we should respect one another when we are using social media. So think about something like that in your mind, and you would be my first guest on the Social Mind.
Well, that's a great honor. I hope I can set the pace for what's to come. Okay, great.
I think you can.
So, Lornadale, that was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing what the Social Mind is all about. I know that people had a lot of questions, and so I hope that now they will have a better understanding as to what the Social Mind is all about and to get excited about it, because now I am excited about it. So thank you.
I know we spoke about it, but I never really went into details of how the direction.
Details, yes. So
yes,
this is
I want
great.
my potential audience to know what's coming, and there is something that I missed, which is domestic abuse, incest, rape. All of those issues I will be addressing, and I'm looking at them sociologically, because I said sometimes we're very hypocritical in society. We like to, I suppose, condemn or make fun of victims, and I have a serious issue with that. That's one of the reasons why sometimes people don't come out, because we as a society not providing that safe space. So the Social Mind is coming. You are going to be the first guest. I hope for your audience that they get a broader perspective or understanding of what the Social Mind is going to be.
I think they will.
Okay, great.
I think they will, because now I have a much better understanding of what it is now that we spoke, and you and I spoke about this a long time ago. So thank you so much, Lornadale, for coming and sharing more about the Social Mind with us, and thank you everyone for supporting and who will be supporting the Social Mind. And again, we waiting on the last episode. On the last episode of Dropping Bars, you said it will be out on November 1st. So I am holding you to that. Oh, wait, that means that I have to get ready for an interview for November 1st.
Exactly.
Okay,
absolutely.
You know what? That's okay. I'll be ready. So thank you so much, Lornadale, for coming on, and thank you everyone for watching this special episode. And I will see you again next week when we drop another episode of Dropping Bars.
Dropping Bars.
Yep. All right, Lornadale, thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Cameron.